Listening is an art that requires attention over talent, spirit over ego, others over self. We have this desire to keep it all peaceful. I am feeling things, but I don't think I'm going to communicate them because it will destabilize the relationship. But if you don't communicate, it compounds and gets more and more of an obstruction. The next thing you know is that you've really grown apart from that person. It's not that you don't love them, or it's not that their original connection isn't there. It's just that there's so much stuff that hasn't been shared. It's really important to communicate, because if you don't, the relationship will lose its depth and its longevity to the degree that you don't communicate. If you don't communicate, resentment builds up and then comes bursting out angrily, achieving very little and very often making things worse. Not much comes out of arguing, but there is a need for real communication, and the best way that I have found for that, and I've suggested this to many people and they've done it and reported back to me that for them also it really works. They tell me it is the foundation of a new culture of communication in their relationships. There's a thing called the listening agreement. When you feel an argument coming on, you feel a tension coming, you identify it and recognize it, and then choose to have it not go down the road into an argument, but instead to invoke the listening agreement. This is what love looks like when it's winning. The listening agreement is a wonderful thing. It's where you say to your partner, look, I am not feeling good. Could we invoke the listening agreement? And he agrees, and so that means you sit opposite each other so that you can have eye-to-eye contact and feel each other across a table. It's not good to do it when you're drunk. Then the person agrees that they will listen to you, remaining in contact with you and listening without interruption until you have fully expressed what it is that you need to express. Then the deal is that when you are finished, and it can be as long as you need with silences, then he will have his say, and he will speak back to you with just your full attention and no interruption. This is so incredible, because one of the things that happen when we come out of alignment in a relationship is we stop looking at each other. The amount of time since you last looked at your partner properly and saw them can go into days and weeks, even if you're living with the person. You're always not really getting them, looking at them or connecting to them. Communication becomes superficial. With the listening agreement, the first thing that happens is you look into your partner's eyes. You put your sword and your shield down for a moment, the sword of attacking and the shield of defending. You can put that down and just give your full attention to your partner, and your partner will blossom in your attention. It's a very powerful thing, the gift of your listening. The feeling of really being heard can bring wonderful healing. Usually what happens when you do that is you start to look into the person's eyes and they're giving you their attention, and somehow you get reconnected, you get realigned to what the real dynamic between you is. When you're not arguing but listening and looking, you tend not to come from an egoic, competitive place, because the root of arguing very often is needing to be right in order to preserve your ego's stance. But when you sit opposite each other and one of the partners is giving full listening, the communication tends to come from your heart, and the listening encourages that and becoming present to the other person. Present to what you're feeling and present to your deeper values. So the quality of what is communicated has a much better chance of being real and authentic and useful. After you've said what's in your heart, you give your full listening to your partner without interruption. It's just wonderful when people feel heard. Sometimes that is literally all you needed to do. Deep listening is the kind of listening that can help relieve the suffering of another person. You can call it compassionate listening. You listen with only one purpose, to help him or her to empty his heart. Some common elements of a listening agreement might include agreeing to, summarizing or paraphrasing what the other person has said to ensure that you have understood them correctly, avoiding blame or criticism, taking turns speaking without interrupting each other, actively listening to what the other person is saying, using I statements to express your own feelings and thoughts, rather than accusing or blaming your partner, avoiding multitasking or other distractions while listening to your partner, asking open-ended questions to encourage further conversation and deeper understanding, avoiding interrupting, arguing, or raising your voice during discussions, using nonverbal cues, such as nodding or making eye contact, to show that you are engaged and attentive to what your partner is saying. Agreeing to listen with an open mind and to consider your partner's perspective, even if you don't agree with it. The goal of a listening agreement is to create a safe and respectful space for couples to communicate and work on their relationship. Setting aside regular times for discussions and communication. Making an effort to be understanding and empathetic towards your partner's feelings and experiences. Respecting each other's boundaries and avoiding personal attacks or criticism. Using we statements to emphasize the partnership and shared responsibility in the relationship. Taking responsibility for your own actions and mistakes, and being willing to apologize and make amends. Agreeing to be honest and transparent with each other, and to avoid withholding information or being dishonest. Focusing on the present and on resolving current issues, rather than dwelling on past events or mistakes. Avoiding judgment or assumptions, and giving your partner the benefit of the doubt. Being patient and allowing each other time to express your thoughts and feelings without interruption. Being open to feedback and constructive criticism from your partner. Encouraging and supporting each other in your personal growth and development. Making an effort to listen and understand each other's perspective, even when you don't agree with it. Agreeing to communicate openly and honestly, and to avoid shutting down or withdrawing during discussions. The most important thing is that the agreement is mutually agreed upon and respected by both partners. Try it and stop arguing forever.